Hello, it's Lee. Well, this is sort of my part 3 to my Piercing the Veil series. Not exactly that, but maybe it's kind of following a train of thought that I'm having, and I just wanted to share it with some people. So whoever finds this, if you've already seen the first two or not, it doesn't matter. Each one is separate in its own self, if you like. I guess it's just a matter of, mainly, my talks being about changing in perception and awareness, mystical aptitude for being able to see things a bit differently, looking at the self differently, looking at others differently, the world in general, I suppose. And for those who are linked with the notion that we are, for those of us like that, rising, our consciousness is growing. So, without further ado, and that said, cheers and greetings. It is Easter time. The talk that I wanted to do today was based upon, if I put it in a symbol, I would say the David star, but here's what I mean by that. There's a big difference between, as many of you very well know, what human beings have come to discover for themselves by thought, by mysticism, by trancing, by meditating, by thinking, whatever the case may be. And then you can look at it as building blocks to a sort of a pyramid. Now, you'll see in a lot of symbolism for Illuminati and this kind of stuff, and certain types of the esoteric symbolisms, the pyramid idea with the eye on top. It's about gaining knowledge for self. But there comes a culmination in gaining knowledge for the self where you realize that the higher self is part of God always. We are not the be-all and end-all of all things. Now, flip that pyramid upside down, and what do you have? You have a vastness of God speaking down to a people. So there's human beings looking for knowledge, truth, light, and then there's something being spoken down. And I hinted at this in another video of mine, actually. Well, what's happening is exactly that. If people have the mysticism, look at all over the world. Every single culture and all the races in every area and corner of the earth, in their original roots, the same things were performed. They had their own shamans and mystics and seers, oracles, whatever name and covering all the varieties that you'd like to use. Every people in an original state did this. I was reminded just today when I was looking at some Ogham in the Druid tradition, and I was reminded to look at the fact that in early times, each letter of the alphabet meant something. It signified something. Even today in Chinese, you have the characters that mean something. Well, nowadays, when we talk A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all that stuff, we forget that this actually comes from something. Our own alphabeta, from Greek aleph beth, from the old Hebrew tradition. That's the roots of the language we're speaking in English and in the Romance languages. Now, there are many other languages, but what I'm saying is this, to go back to the roots of the soul, and each people had their own idea of understanding things and a way of speaking it. So if there were different seers and mystics, they all started to uncover the veils, and they all just started to see the same things. It doesn't matter if it was in Australia or Africa or in Western Europe or different parts of Asia, different parts of the Americas. It doesn't matter. It's the whole kit and caboodle. Every race and culture started to uncover the same things. So slowly, as we pierce away veils, we start to see that there is a unity and a oneness. This actually gets us to realize in the ultimate way that we are one with absolutely everything. I am one with the grass on the ground here, this chair. Why? Because everything that is manifested from God's energy, that which creates something out of nothing. We may be able to utilize the materials of earth and make stuff. A human being made the chair, or rather oversaw the factory in modern times to make a chair, to make a hat, a shirt, whatever the case. But we are using that which was already manifested from God's energy. And we are one with God. So we are the children that are learning of our own parent inside ourselves. So building blocks to get to a realization, a culmination. Now, when people are building up this pyramid, so to speak, in order to find the truth of God, well, it takes a long time. Sometimes we get lost along the way. If people don't come to the peak, because you can be very much lost on those different rows, call them sectors, and sometimes we stay in one for a long time. Maybe we don't see the roof. Maybe we don't see that there is no roof. We get stuck in a block, in a compartment, sort of thing. So that's the importance of God needing to come with a voice and speak on his, her, its own behalf, the source, the truth. Now, a voice coming down, what happens is when the traditions get lost for certain people, then there comes problems. The reason why people are turning away left, right, and center from mainstream religions all over the world, and this idea is just starting to get into the Middle East now. Democracy is just going to start to cultivate there. I had a very good friend, and he put it very well, very eloquently, and he was a guy from Afghanistan, and his name was Hamid, a very nice gentleman, and he used to be a Muslim. Now he is an agnostic. And I'm not bashing any Muslims. I've met very good and devout ones, very holy and very gentle people. It's not about that. It's a fact of this. And I like what he said. I do not respect a person who only reads one book. I think a lot of people can agree with that. The reason is, if we just look at one, a book cannot just have to mean a text, pages with words. It can mean a school of thought, a tradition. Traditionally in the Americas, where we find ourselves now, I myself am in Canada, but there was certain traditions we carried over from Europe, Catholicism, Protestant Christianity, and that's most of our parental background traditions. But these traditions, because they were not backed up with the mystical building blocks, then it's a matter of what? Blind faith? People do not want this anymore. We need to make, just to give an idea of a symbol, but it doesn't mean much necessarily, but for the David Star image, picture that. One triangle imposed upon another, one upright and one upside down. Because if we are just believing something that's told to us in a very tiny, you see how the vastness of God is like this, and then there's a tiny pinpoint, and we're just told a little pinpoint and we don't search for anything. Look at a lot of the priests and whatnot who have been taking over the tradition as the generations go along. A lot of these, I'm not going to bash any one particular one at all, but a lot of these priests in any religion, anywhere all over the world, and any tradition, when they themselves don't have the mysticism, the deeper insight, the actual experiences with spirit world, then they might be saying something that they don't even know is true or not. I personally myself have been to churches in different places where I wanted to talk about angels and different things. No one wanted to talk about it. No, you don't say it, leave that for the priest. You see, this is the problem. And then even when you approach these people, they don't have much to say because they don't know. They haven't entered into the mystic. Piercing the veil is very important if we're going to have any knowledge. I'm not talking about faith, I'm talking about knowledge. And this is based on experiences and tangible proofs that we can go and put ourselves through. It's very easy to repeat what somebody has said. It's very easy to hear something and say, yeah, it sounds right. But it is important to investigate for ourselves. I'm sure many of you have run into the same problems. It's not for no reason that we are turning away from traditional religions. What's funny is this, though, is that the way that the Christ himself was the way we can and should all be. If we could bypass all of the nonsense and just become actualized in perfection and holiness, that was the point. Even Jesus himself said, when you are done your training, you will be like the Master. There only is one thing to become. We are one. Now, I'm saying this at a time of Easter, and I think it's important that I do so, for the simple fact that I'd just like to share this and pass along this idea. Very, very, very important to build your own mystical building blocks to get into the spiritual, even for philosophy. And even as God comes down to speak to people, as it was said, and sometimes it's not even God talking necessarily, it could be demonic. But the more we take that word and open it up and look into it. Again, mystical building blocks. The truth is in the heart center. Now, I guess in these times people are feeling the pull, feeling the understanding. It's good that I really find it to be good that the people that are becoming awake, we're starting to connect in many ways. We can all believe in spirituality in the same sort of ways as they come. Spirits are there, angels and demons are there. We can all start to believe that there are such things as UFOs, and there's something physical going on as well as in the spiritual sense. We're able to believe in God and the devil, and these manifestations are eternal maxims. Heaven and hell are without, because they are within each of us. All these things, all the dots that we're connecting, people that are in this era right now raising their consciousness and their heart consciousness, we're all discovering the same things. I don't find it accidental that one person that believes in reincarnation also believes in UFOs, also believes in angels and demons, also believes in leprechauns. We're really starting to open up to something great, building blocks to see the same truths. This is fundamental, and it is beautiful. And the dogs in the background are agreeing with the wolf shaman today. Well, I take things with humor and take things with a grain of salt, and trust and love yourself to come to know. Inside each of us is the key to eternal knowledge and truth. Perfection of love. Very, very much so. There's not a single person that was created as a bad seed. Not a single lost soul. We all have the same perfect potential. We are all going to become the same perfection in the end. Those who have a desire for it are those who are ready for it. Even with a bit of fear sometimes, we still can push forward to accept this reality for ourselves. It's nice to buy things and keep your body alive and survive. But we've been doing this dance for a long time. Some of us are really ready for a lot different type of existence. Maybe we'll still come back sometimes to help, but we're getting actualized in this sort of existence. And it's very beautiful. There is only eternity, so you can say time is of the essence, but everybody is on the place where they're at according to their needs, their desires they need to get out, and their ability of perception. Other people have different perceptions. We have to respect every person as best we can. Well, salutations for now. More talks to come. Watch my other videos and catch you on the flip side, as we say. Cheers, one love, and namaste, my friend.